if what you're doing is solving customer pain points and problems, at the end of the day, you're going to acquire more customers. You're going to retain the one you've got. It's a step that you can't skip.
To me, the most important thing I've seen in successful products and just successful teams in general is that the ones that know how to learn and are self-starters, self-driven, are the ones that see way more success.
Our product is actually not the gift card. You can get a gift card from any of our competitors. It will be still a $20 gift card. So there's nothing differentiated in that part of the product. Our differentiator is the experience and how we wrap that around it.
And so many organizations say that, oh, we're customer first and we're customer centric, when in fact they think they know everything about their customers, and to be honest, 99% of them haven't actually spent the time doing the research and talking to them.
The role of product is not to go with a gut feel. It's about actually being able to look at all the data points we've got available and make an informed decision as we can.
Benoit Garnaud is Chief Product Officer at Prezzee, leading innovation in the fast-growing e-gift card market. With over 20 years of experience in banking, wealth management, and fintech, he's held senior roles at Citi, American Express, and Hum Group. A graduate of Sciences Po, Benoit also collaborates with institutions like the University of Sydney. Join us for our conversation with Benoit Garnaud.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Benoit. It's great to have you on. Been looking forward to this one for a while, and looking forward to our chat today.
Me too. Nice to see you.
Awesome. Well, for those that may not be aware of your background, give us a bit of a short summary of your career to date.
Yeah, sure. So obviously I'm Benoit Garnaud. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Prezzee. Prezzee is a digital gifting platform that operates in 6 markets. I've been with Prezzee for the last 3.5 years, really came in to build the product function and really take the business from a startup to a scale up. Prior to Prezzee, I actually started my career in marketing before going into product. I studied at American Express back in the day in France, and then moved to the UK and then moved to Australia 19 years ago with Amex. So, and within Amex had different roles across marketing, different function, insurance, credit cards, and obviously my last role there was around new product development from credit card perspective for the consumer market in Australia. I then moved to Citibank, where I spent 7 years. Quite similar in terms of the different type of roles. Studied in marketing in the consumer lending space, unsecured, sorry, and then moved into the retail side of the business on the back of a big restructure we had, taking on product marketing across transaction accounts, investment, insurance, mortgages, before moving into more of a wealth management role, where I was responsible for value proposition for high net worth customers, service model, and kind of the product offering. And my last role at Citibank was leading up the credit card and rewards portfolio as well for Australia. And then after 7 years at Citibank, decided to move into a more technology-driven business, smaller than what I was used to. And so I jumped to Hum, which is a buy now pay later competitor to Afterpay and Zip, and was the chief product officer there for a couple of years before moving to Prezzee.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, you've had a lot of experience. I guess it's interesting that you studied marketing, obviously, and then were more, I guess, on with Amex and Citi. Were you working more on the actual, I guess, the hard product offering, where with the actual cards and that kind of thing, and marketing that, or were you working on the digital side as well, or what your role encompassed there?
A bit of both. So very much working in the day-to-day from a marketing perspective. So I had different roles, some really purely on customer acquisition, so really driving new customer growth, and really across all the different channels. Obviously, back in the day, there was more than just digital. We're doing a fair bit of out of home. Direct mail was still quite big. I spent quite a few years as well. Telemarketing back in the day was still a very big channel from an acquisition perspective. So really have a pretty broad experience when it comes to all the different channels, and obviously digital for the later part of my career. And then also moved into, when I was in wealth management, more around the portfolio management. So not so much about acquiring new customers, but more about driving engagement with customers through life cycle marketing campaigns and driving spend and kind of retention strategies for the portfolio and a lot of cross-sell activities. So kind of the whole spectrum, if you wish.
Yeah, very interesting. I guess moving to Prezzee would have been a bit of a different environment from more of a corporate to a startup. There no doubt would be a bit faster paced. There would be more or easier decisions, I guess, or easier decision making. Not necessarily, I guess, following the. Well, in bigger organisations, it's always the case, right, where things are got to follow what's done previously, or it's just harder to get things done. What's some of your experience with that? What's been the difference of moving to a more focusing on digital and building out the entire offering that Prezzee has in that digital space, that product, and then how have you been able to move quicker in that environment?
Yes. Well, it was a very intentional move that I made. After spending close to 20 years in large American corporate organization, where, to your point, very slow moving, a lot of bureaucracy, and a lot of the decision making being centralized with regional teams or central teams back in the US. I was just really noticing, especially in the financial services space, a lot of new entrants who like the likes of Afterpay or Zip, who were very much disrupting the markets and kind of the way consumers were engaging with financial products. And I was getting, I think, a bit frustrated with the lack of reaction from big organizations who were very much incumbent and sure they were small and they were not really eating our lunch just yet. But I was quite intrigued and interested by the different mindsets when it came to financial products. And so that's why I started moving into kind of more fintech and startup space and technology businesses. Prezzee was definitely a big cultural change. When I joined the business, I think I was employee number 67. So I had never worked for such a small business. And as you said, it's a very, very fast moving business. And like a lot of startups, the business grew through being very responsive to the need of potential clients and being able to move extremely fast to be able to seize opportunities and a lot faster than any of the competitors we have. And so my journey was very much around, as I said, when I came in, there was no real product functions. And so we were still a very sales-driven organization, so kind of very much chasing the next dollar and making sure we were growing very fast. And my role was really to, just bring some of the product management discipline into the business, build a product function that was not only able to deliver at pace, but also be able to think strategically about the needs of our customers, what our products needed to evolve to, and really bringing some of the ways of working, that were kind of missing as well. We were very reactive and, going from sprint to sprint with no real foresight as to where we were going. And so over the first 2 years of my journey, really took build up the team. The product team at Prezzee now has roughly 40 people, building kind of a product delivery function, really around our ways of working, and making sure that as we grew and we were operating as efficiently and as fast as we were, but putting a bit of structure to it. And more importantly, starting to think about strategically again where we're going with our product, and also as we were expanding into new market, making sure we understood the differences of in each of the markets and what our product needed to evolve to be able to service all our customers across the different jurisdictions.
Yeah, very interesting. I guess the change for moving to Prezzee, like a lot of Prezzee's basically, I guess, entirely digital, right? Where with the offering, and it's very, I wouldn't say very different. It's probably not the right way to put it, but again, there's parallels to credit cards, retail credit cards, and that kind of thing. But it's a gifting space, and it's just a very unique offering. I've used it many times myself, and I think it's great. But I guess moving towards, the ease of that gifting really is your initiative, right? How do we make it as easy as possible for for whatever occasion, whatever it is. And I know even through your API offerings and that kind of thing, we've come up with some pretty unique ways of how to integrate this even in B2B settings and that kind of thing, just with automations and that kind of thing. So what, I guess, trying to unpack, what is your goal from that digital side? What are you trying to, as a product team, I guess, what are you trying to deliver overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two parts. To your point, we are 100% digital. We don't play in the physical world at all. Prezzee was probably one of the leaders in the digital space, with first one to be just in digital, but also the first one to really bring a gifting experience to go with it, right? Gift card can be quite transactional and not very personal, and so and then when you put that into a digital environment, suddenly it feels even less personal. And so the mission we're on is really about creating a very immersive, engaging, meaningful gifting experience for customers. The gift card is almost the kind of a byproduct of it, right? It's a gift, but really what we focus more is around the customer experience. And that's not only on the consumer side, we also have a business offering, and the need of those customers is very different, obviously. They want to be able to manage bulk orders and being able to send thousands of cards very easily. Having said that, they also want the flexibility to be able to make that personal, especially being able to send a video from the CEO at Christmas to go with your gift to make it a bit more personal and meaningful for the recipient. And then on the API side, very much supporting our partners. So we are the engine behind a lot of the gift card platform out there, loyalty programs, or some of the buy now pay later out there. And so for us, it's about giving them the tools to be able to build the experience they want for their customers and being able to facilitate that with reliable, scalable API technology. But our ethos is really about personalization and giving and really focusing on creating an experience that is differentiated to our competitors, but that really helps connect people in a meaningful way. We've got a bigger mission and a bigger vision for the business, which is really around connecting people. We believe that in a very connected world, people are very disconnected still, and so we believe through gifting and through our platform, we've got a way to address that. And so a lot of the things we're doing on a day-to-day is really around that experience to help customers connect.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely some opportunities for business to innovate with it, and even in gamification settings, but also loyalty reward kind of ideas that process. I guess there's so many opportunities there for businesses to innovate with something like this. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced on the product side? Because I know obviously coming into an organization that was startup really that obviously had been successful to a degree, had grown, had made some waves, if that makes sense. It's not necessarily a tiny team. 67 people is still decently, for a startup. Some people are operating with 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of people. So you're obviously coming into somewhat of established setup, but there was nothing in product, as you say. But what was the challenge or the biggest things you were trying to just get everyone aligned on and make sure that, that you're all delivering on a consistent aligned vision, I guess? Because one thing that we see often, not necessarily just in the SaaS space or just in anything with these kind of product offerings or products in general, is that it's easy just to try and do everything and not stay aligned. One of the hardest things is to get clear on your messaging, on your delivery, and what your value is, and then stick to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still very much guilty of that still today. There's a lot of opportunities out there, and we want to be able to seize them all. We're a very ambitious bunch, and so that's a constant struggle. I think the key thing for me, and the where we are now compared to where we were before, is really around that visibility of where we're going in alignment across the business on some of the strategic moves we need to make. I think when I came in, as I said, we were pretty reactive. We're very much chasing the next deal and the next opportunity. We can't do that when we've got a business that has 300 people. And so it's absolutely critical. And a big part of my role is really making sure that the entire business is aligned behind the strategy and the business objectives. And my role is really to bring that together. And so I often say internally that it's not a product roadmap, it's really a business roadmap, because my objective is to make sure that we are delivering the right thing for the business and where we're trying to go. Obviously, a lot of that is in the product space, but sometimes it's not. And so we need to make sure that the investment we're making in terms of people and in technology actually give us benefits. And so that alignment it has been really critical in being able to articulate the strategy and the direction, and the roadmap has really helped that, because once people can see that, they can get on board with it. And then it's a constant dialogue, right, to make sure we are still very much aligned. And always revisiting. We need to remain agile and nimble. And the thing that I was finding frustrating in big organization like Citibank or Amex is the roadmap is locked in for the next 3 years, and so there's no chance to be able to pivot very quickly, and we don't want to lose that. And so that's been a big focus of mine. And listen, it's constant work, right? We're never there, but we've really grown as a business, and really respecting the process and making sure we've got a bit more foresight and we're not as reactive as we used to be.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. Because a lot of product teams can just, a big thing I say is features. They're delivering features over outcomes rather than focusing on the outcomes, and it's important that we focus on the business outcomes and what we're actually trying to achieve. Because if you're a for-profit business, you got to make profit to stay in business. That's just a fact, right? But at the same time, by only focusing on business metrics, if we're overlooking the customer experience and what the actual customers want, then we're going to hurt ourselves. I think they go hand in hand, and sometimes people pigeonhole them and say, well, you can't focus on outcomes and business outcomes. If you do that, then you hurt the customer experience. Well, I don't think that, that's the case. You can focus on both, and that's where really the key, I guess, the fire is, right? That's where you can really make some quick progress. If you are aligning on, this is what we're going to be delivering for customers, and that is directly tied back to this business outcome, because if we achieve that, we know that we're going to drive this on the business side, right? And to me, that is one of the most important parts of a product team is to determine what that is. And so many teams are just like, oh, a stakeholder asked for this feature, or we want to deliver this new cool thing, let's just put it in and we'll build it. And then you go and ask them, and it's like, well, what are we doing this for? And it's like, well, we don't really know. We're just doing it because we came up with an idea and we wanted to fill up the backlog. Like it sounds so silly when you say it out loud, but it's so often what happens. And I guess the challenge is we need to align on those customer needs and on those business outcomes, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's at the end of the day, if what you're doing is solving customer pain points and problems, and you're focusing on the customer, then at the end of the day, you're going to acquire more customers. You're going to retain the one you've got. You're going to have more engaged customers, and that translates into whatever metrics a business is chasing, whether it's sales, acquisition of new customers, growth, revenue and profitability. So it's the two need to work together. And you're right. I think as we've matured and brought in some capability from a UX design perspective, but also from a UX research perspective, I think the business realized the value of spending a little bit more time before we jump into delivering something to actually try to unpack the problem we're trying to solve, and really the value is going to deliver for our customers. Too often, and again, we still a bit guilty of that, we don't go to our team with a problem. We say, this is what we need to do. And when you start asking questions and trying to unpack, you realize that the solution is actually not addressing the root cause of the problem. And so it's a step that you can't skip if you want to deliver good products, good experiences, and ultimately delivering on your business objectives.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I was talking to Jared Spool about this the other day. He was on the podcast, and he was saying, if you can't go to, he was talking about the development team, but if you can't go to even someone on the UX team or something, but basically and say, well, okay, we're working on this, and whose life is it going to make better? Like, name me at least one customer, like an actual customer, as to who this is going to improve. And he was saying, if you can't do that, that's not strategic UX,
Yeah.
right? Well, that's, we're not working strategically. And I guess that is one of the most important things is like we've got to be aligned. And it sounds cliche, sound like a broken record, whatever, but it's just the facts. If you truly understand the customers and understand what they want, and it's not just about going digital or enabling this or everything else, it's much more work than that. And so many organizations say that, oh, we're customer first and we're customer centric and we're all this, when in fact they think they know everything about their customers. And to be honest, 98% of them, 99% of them haven't actually spent the time doing the research and talking to them and then doing their own research independent of that, I guess, which is, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems, where you end up with products that are like either packed with features, but 90% of them don't get used, kind of thing. And so it's so important. But at the same time, I think it's important that we give our teams the space for innovation, right? And that's where you're saying there is like, okay, well, let's discuss this problem. Let's identify this problem with the customers themselves, do some research on that. But how are you, I guess, fostering that innovation and pushing that innovation in your teams?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few things we've done over the last few years. The first one is really to embed a really structured discovery process. So making sure again that we actually very well understand and articulate the problem we're trying to solve. And then really let the ideation process take its course and give the space to our designers and whoever needs to be involved in that process, and often bringing technologists or engineers into the process, because they've got a different perspective as well of what can and can't be done. And so I think allowing the time for that process to take place is the first one. In terms of innovation, I mean, it's a bit of a buzzword, right? We do believe that it's coming from everywhere and anywhere within the business. It could be someone in a call center who's speaking to a customer and actually identify a problem, has got an idea. And so we don't see innovation as coming just from product or engineering. We see that coming from everywhere in the business.
100%.
And we also define innovation as something that is about improving an existing process or solving a problem. Too often, we're trying to retrofit or we're trying to be innovative for the sake of it. But if it doesn't actually solve a problem for a customer or for an internal customer, then it's really not, it's a wasted innovation and so we're very focused, and AI, again, a big buzzword, but something that is very much part of the everything we do at the moment is really not starting with, okay, we want to use AI, what can we use it for? But instead, this is the problem we're trying to solve, and how can AI actually solve that problem for us, and how do we use it? And so some of it is really helping with the customer experience, but a lot of it is actually internal for us. In terms of our teams, whether it's in a call center, whether it's actually even the design team, right? We a business operating in countries with different languages, right? Just to be able to translate at scale and being able to move fast when you create a new experience. All these tools actually made our life a lot easier and more productive, but they were solving a real problem in the first place.
Yeah, no, it's very, very, very interesting, and I agree with you totally on the innovation side. And so many people focus on shiny objects, right? Or running and doing this and doing that, as you said, for the sake of doing them. But what are we actually getting out of it? Like, what's the outcome? What's the goal? What are we trying to achieve here? Let's not implement something because we want to implement it or we just think it's a great idea. I totally agree with you, because you're going to have all of this stuff and all of this innovation, right? That's actually, it's not innovative at all. It's just all you've done is put in a heap of stuff that actually doesn't deliver anything.
Yeah, and one of the things we're doing, and we've got a head of engineering with a chief innovation officer, and again, it's someone with a title, but it's actually not about a team who's doing innovation. It's about how do we make sure culturally, as a business, everyone is thinking, innovatively. But it's also about giving the space to people to be able to learn, educate themselves. We've got a lot of opportunities for our own teams, whether it's in product or in engineering, to actually spend time to learn new technology, new tools. And that's what allows actually people to come up with new ideas and innovative ways to solve problem. Too often, if you don't allow for that process to take place in that time, you are very inward looking, and you're not really actually taking on any of the new things coming in, and so you run the risk to become very antiquated very quickly. And so I think it's about that. It's about a culture of sharing knowledge as well. So We have a lot of brand back sessions where people are talking about new things they're interested in, and so that sharing of information and knowledge is what also fosters a culture of innovation and curiosity, right? Kind of wanting people to be curious about what's coming and what could they do with that new technology.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's important. Around one thing we focus on is building a competitive edge or intellectual property, brand differentiation, all of that kind of wrapped in one. But what are we doing um, on a product level? What are we doing that actually makes us different, right? Because there are, especially these days, people can copy things, but who's the one that's leading it, right? How are we consistently maintaining our competitive edge? And it's not just about, as you say, innovating for the sake of innovating and copying others. Are we genuinely leading the pack? What are we doing that's differentiating the brand? And I suppose where we work is in traditional industries with B2B, your manufacturing, wholesale and distribution, and kind of industrial services industry. So it's a bit different from kind of more of a traditional SaaS product. But I like the learnings across both of them, right? Because at the end of the day, these industries are trying to now deliver these digital experiences, and the same stuff applies at the end of the day. Yes, okay, there might be a physical product and a process to the other business, but these days with the expectations, it's just, okay, you've got a digital product versus a manufacturer as a physical product. But at the end of the day, the actual experience in ordering that, seeing that, all of that should be the same level. And I guess the big thing I encourage people to think about is think strategically of what are we going to do to actually build our IP and build our competitive advantage, where it's not just, you want to build that relationship, I guess, with your customers, that you become somewhat entangled in what they do, and embedded is another way to put it. Of, you don't want people just to go, oh yeah, whatever, we can just go somewhere else, right? There's no loyalty there. Why are they actually using you?
Yeah, well, and I think, if you think about Prezzee today, our product, I mean, the gift card, our product is actually not the gift card. That's very commoditized. You can get a gift card from any of our competitors. It will be still a $20 gift card. So there's nothing differentiated in that part of the product. Our differentiator is the experience and how we wrap that around it. And as I said earlier, it's the gift card itself is almost like on the back seat of the reason why people come to Prezzee, and personalization, the overall experience, and the experience just beyond the set as well. Having we've got a 24/7 call center and service a team servicing our customers, and in a digital world where people are not necessarily already tech savvy, knowing that they've got someone who's there to be able to help them anytime is a big differentiator, and that's why people come back as well, right? That sense of not being stuck and lost and not knowing where to go, and you send an email and no one is responding to you. That is a key differentiator as well, and something that, even though we might be moving away from phone-based servicing, then making sure that we've got the channel customers want to communicate with us available, and making sure that people there to be able to help them. And so I agree. I think, and again, for us, a product is very commoditized, so it's all about the experience. And unless we can show something different to our competitors, then they've got no reason to come to us, and then they've got no reason to come back to us.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, to be honest, it's the same for most businesses these days, if that makes sense, right? It's the product is a byproduct of what you do, I guess, essentially, and you've got this experience that you want your customers to be having. One thing I feel is massive for doing all this is having a high performing team, or just a team that is brilliant, right, and allowing them to do their best work. Because let's be honest, if you've got a poor team, you're going to struggle to do anything. You're going to struggle to achieve anything. What are you looking for, especially around product? Like, what are you looking for as a leader to, when you're bringing someone in, whoever it is, whatever position, I guess, but around product, I guess, what are you looking for in your team, and what do you want them to have?
A lot of things. Now, I think there's few things for me. One is, I think it's the right attitude. I think you can learn technical skills, but having the right attitude is something is really hard to teach. And so we're looking for people who are curious, people who are ambitious, people who actually really care about the customer and wanting to make a difference. And I think you probably that's probably the strength of Prezzee is we've got a culture where everyone, one of our values is give a damn. And it's a very true of everyone working at Prezzee is that we do everything we can to help our customers and create an experience for our customers. So that's really the first thing. The second thing for me, as when I look at a team, is around building diversity, right? Having people with diverse background, the stereotype or the cliche of female, male distribution, but I actually think it's very important to have different perspective around the table and really fostering a culture, an environment where people can speak up, have an opportunity to share their views and their opinion, and making sure no one is suppressed. Otherwise, if everyone is thinking the same way, you're not going to get the best outcome for anyone, for the business, for the team, for the customer. And so I'm always looking for that kind of diversity and bringing people who can bring a different perspective into the team. And then, I think it's also about providing the necessary coaching to the team along the way and making sure they feel supported, they're learning, but also kind of there's accountability around that. And I think and an empowerment, right? And I think they're all very important factors for someone to be able to flourish and really achieve the potential. The flip side to that is obviously making sure you manage poor performance. And sometimes it's just the wrong fit, right? With the wrong company, the wrong team, the wrong product, the wrong experience. But we make a real strong point to make sure we are managing performance effectively in a very timely fashion and really helping people strive, but being able to also address when the performance is not there. So I think it's a combination of all of that.
Yeah. From my experience, I focus on a couple of things, which is mainly from success that I've seen is people that are self-starters, and it comes back to attitude. I totally agree. People that are self-starters and self-driven and have one attribute, which is learning. They know how to learn, right? They're willing to learn anything. They're willing to put the effort in, and they don't have to be repeatedly asked or whatever. They're just driven, right? They're aligned. Yeah. And obviously that comes back to management. You can't expect people to be driven on alignment. So if you've got to manage them, you've got to make sure that everyone's aligned, everyone's clear on the vision. But it comes back to the attitude that you discussed, and I totally agree. You can't teach it, and it's hard to actually change, right? From individuals. And so to me, the most important thing I've seen in successful products and just successful teams in general is that the ones that know how to learn and are self-starters, self-driven, are the ones that see way more success. It doesn't matter who it is, whatever. It's just if you've got a team of people that have that attitude and are aligned on that there, then there'll be different viewpoints. They'll work things out. They'll learn things. They'll do this, but they're always constantly pulling towards that same vision. And at the end of the day, it's the results that count, right? Can they get the results? Are they driven to those results?
Yeah, and I think the other thing from a product perspective, there's probably two other factors, right? The first one is someone who can actually really build strong relationship within the business. Product is the engine room of any business, and everything tends to lead to product. And the strength of products, the product team comes from the strength of the relationship they build across the business and making sure there's alignment, making sure they're getting the voice of the customer, wherever it comes from, coming to that team. And so I think that's a critical one. And again, there's a lot of things that product can't do by themselves, right? It's a team sport. And so being able to build those relationships and leverage those relationships is key. And I think it's also about being able to use data and trying to make objective decisions. It's very easy to go with a gut feel or with a subjective view, and the role of product is not to go with a gut feel. It's about actually being able to look at all the data points we've got available and make as an informed decision as we can. And so they're probably the other thing as well in terms of trying to bring it back to data, the benefits, what are we trying to achieve, and that engagement with the business. So they're probably two other key things as well for me for a successful product team.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And to me, one of the most important, honestly, the most important part, there's multiple parts, but if you don't have the team, you're not going to build a great product. That's just a fact. Like, you're going to be constantly fighting to get to that vision. You're going to be constantly fighting, just making progress, all of these things. It's so important that everyone's aligned, and I agree with you. It's just super, super important, along with a lot of other points, but that one is really really important, I feel. So the future of product management, I wanted to get into that now, just kind of where you see this going. Like, where do you see it going, especially at Prezzee from here, and things in your experience? Like in the future, we've obviously got AI, as we've discussed. It is a buzzword, but there is definitely impacts of it. That's just the facts. We're already seeing layoffs of certain people, right? That AI is taking jobs, not in a fear-mongering perspective, but it's just a reality, that certain, positions, etc. My position on it, especially at this point, is the fact that as an individual, if there's someone that's exactly the same skill level as you or whatever else that is using AI versus you that isn't, then that person is going to be far more effective, and eventually going to replace your position. I don't think AI specifically on its own is going to replace people, especially at this point. But it's people. It's when it's used in the right way. It's not always effective, right? But I guess it can be incredibly powerful for certain applications, and I do see it having an impact. Not that it wipes out product management. Not it's just augmenting. It's helping us, right? It's an assistant, and to me that is one of the key things. I'd like to get your thoughts on what you think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's there's nothing to fear, and if anything, I think it's about embracing it and understanding how we can actually use it for our own benefit. To your
Yeah.
point, I think there's an opportunity with AI in particular to really enhance the work we do, make us more productive, remove some of the mundane tasks, and really develop some experiences and things that were not possible before that actually going to really enhance the product and the experience we give to our customers. And so, that's very much how we approach it. It's about embracing it and understanding it, and also understanding how we make the best use out of it. AI is a big one. I mean, I think about Prezzee and what we're trying to do in terms of connecting people around the world. I think there's other type of technology as well, right? Whether it's augmented reality or virtual reality, how do we start bringing those technology in a digital world to try to emulate as much as we can the physical? And so I don't think it's only AI. It's actually about all the new technology that are coming out. Again, it's not about chasing the new shiny toy. It's about which one actually has the potential to improve the product, improve the customer experience, and maybe the experience of the employees as well. And so, I think the pace, the rate of change is increasing significantly. The expectation from customers is changing very fast. And so for me, product management, the basics of it and the fundamentals of it haven't changed, and I don't think they will change. It's about how do we understand our customers in that evolving landscape, and use the technology that are coming to be able to enhance the product. And being able to keep up with the pace of change and the expectation of our customers. But the fundamentals of product management haven't, right? It's about understanding your customer, understanding the problem you're trying to solve, and really staying very close to that customer and being able to evolve with the need.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just on that there with teams, going back a bit to the teams, and something that just came to my mind I'd love to get your thoughts on is how are you tying back kind of outcomes, and we're talking about outcomes on that earlier, but how are you determining the success of your team, I guess, at the moment? Like a lot of what we discussed earlier was about, tying this back to business outcomes and making sure that, we're delivering on those. But I guess how are you continuing to prove the value of the team and what you're doing to the stakeholders and the business? And I guess what's making that continue to grow and continue to be investing? Well, what are you looking at on a daily basis to say, is it, are you looking at revenue? Are you looking at growth? Is that what you're looking at? Or are you looking at other numbers? What are you looking at to say, okay, no, we are going in the right direction here?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of all of the above, right? I don't think there's a metric. Obviously, we're a very fast growing business, and like any business, we want growth, right? So top line growth is what we're looking for, and we're looking at on a regular basis. But it's also about customer metrics around customer satisfaction. One of the challenges as a scale up, any scale up, right, is as you grow, your cost base grows as well, and our cost of servicing customers has increased. So, these are some of the metrics as well, is how do we retain the customer satisfaction and, when it comes to servicing, but whilst being able to also transform our servicing model, and make it more scalable for us as we continue growing. So these are some of the metrics we look at. We've also shifted probably 18 months ago to kind of an OKR framework. So looking at what are we delivering on a quarterly basis, making sure we've got a good understanding of the benefit we're looking for and the metrics we're trying to influence, and then tracking that on the back of it, and making sure we're going back and assessing whether we've actually moved the needle or not. And also it's about going back to your question, how do we know we're successful? We've got clear strategic imperatives as a business, and we've got a clear strategy. And so we are on a quarterly basis going back to, what are the objectives? Are they still true? Are they still the top 5 things we need to do? And then what are the initiatives underneath that? And do we believe they actually align with it? And then are we delivering value? So it's sometimes it's difficult, and not everything is seen, right? Not everything is a new feature, but also being able to look back in terms of the health of your platform, the health of your product, and being able to see where you were 12 months ago and where you are now, and how much of a difference it's making, right? In terms of scale for us, is critical. So it's trying to bring whatever data point you need to be able to ensure you're measuring that. And then from a productivity perspective, we're using a lot of different metrics, whether it's time to build, adhere to done, change failure rate. So all these things are tracked sprint to sprint, and so we've got visibility around how fast are we moving? Are we moving too fast, and the quality is being impacted, or are we slowing down? And so making sure we always use those indicators as well for us in terms of the health of the team, the productivity of the team.
Very good. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the chat we've had. I think it's been a really, really good chat, really insightful. I've learned a lot from you, so I appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time. I do have a finale segment I do with each guest that I want to jump into. I'll ask you a couple of questions if you're ready for that.
Sure. Should I be worried?
No, absolutely not. Now, the first one is, what's one thing you believe businesses are not paying enough attention to right now that will be critical in the next 5 years?
Probably still the customer experience. And I think and going back to what we discussed a little bit, what we tend to not invest enough time on is really optimizing and removing some of the smaller pain points throughout the experience, right? We're focusing on new features and new things that drive revenue. And sometimes it comes at the cost of actually the small things, right? Even your error messaging and how is that actually helping customers to navigate when they get stuck. And so that's probably one for me where it's constant. It never ends. There's never an end with that, but it is probably something that the customer experience is probably something that needs to be invested even more and more. And especially as new technology and customer expectation are changing very fast, is keeping up with that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially with the industries that we work with in the B2B side. The B2C, I believe there should be no difference between B2B and B2C. First and foremost, it's just human expectations, customer expectation. Doesn't matter what you're in, but things are moving so quickly. And B2B's, some industries or just businesses in general are 10 years behind already, let alone what's going to happen in the next 5 years. And so I couldn't agree with you more. The second one is, what legacy do you want to leave in your industry? How do you hope your work will influence or shape the future?
Wow, that's a big one. I think and if I think about Prezzee or in general, is being able to look back and feel like I've achieved something and I've built something. And, if it's Prezzee, being able to leave Prezzee in a place where, there's a product management function that is highly performing, and being able to support and be contributing to the growth of this business, and look back and say, I've done that and I was a key player in it. And I guess that's probably the reason why I moved to smaller business, right? Being able to actually really make an impact and making a difference. And probably the other one is, it was fun to work with me, right? So we've done that. There was a lot of hard work. It was painful at times, but do you know what? We did that, and we kind of enjoy doing that together as a team, and being remembered that way. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Very good. The final one is, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self at the start of your career?
It's always a tricky one, this one. Trust the process. You know, there've been few people throughout my career that have had a big impact, and who potentially saw things in me that I didn't see. And I kind of trusted them at that point to make a jump, to make a change. And I'm glad I did. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, no, it's a really good advice. I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you coming on once again, Benoit. It's been
No,
a great
thank you.
conversation. I've learned a lot, so it's been brilliant. And anyone listening, we've got a lot of other great episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Deezer, anywhere else you find your podcasts. Like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching this, we've got an episode coming out every week, and there's some really good content there. You can also check out our learning center at intuji.com. There's some great content there as well. And once again, Benoit, thanks for coming on. It's been a great chat. We'll keep in touch.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.